now? How about now? You hear me now? Good. Sorry, I was apologizing for the weird yellow color behind me today. I don't know why it's all yellow in here, but that's what it is. So I also wanted to say we are in week 7 of the course, and you should be seeing my screen. Let me get it up on YouTube too. So for all the folks watching over there, they can see it. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Just as way a review. And the reason I like to do a review at the beginning of these calls to show you how all of these subjects dovetail in together and are the strategic thinking points that you need to think about when you're looking at the flow of a contact all the way through from the very first moment it hits your business to the minute you manufacture it into a happy past client, which I was working on earlier tonight, which I'll get into. I like to story tell so it makes it real for you that there are actually real deals happening exactly like this plan lays out. So in the first week, we talk about the plan itself. Where does it come from? And I was really thinking to myself that I should tie this in with a lot of these books that I recommend to you, right? So I would tell you that the first one, let me just show it too, because I want to show it while I'm doing it. Michael Gerber's book is the first book that influences this entire business model. So I would tell you Gerber's books, that's why I have the audio book up here plus the paperback. His stuff can be a little bit hard to follow because he's very much of a high I storyteller. He's a high ID. I met him at a ripe old age of when he was 80, and that's back some years ago. So I haven't really checked in as to where he's at these days. But he wrote this book that is very, very helpful to small business people, because if there is such a thing as extracting some structure and some great thinking points to be strategic about business and not just tactical, it's that book. And the whole business model, the infographic that all of you have seen before, is exactly what this first week is all about, describing how we're going to go through this strategically. Now, of course, strategic, you have to wonder, okay, but is that that doesn't tell me how to do something? No, you're right. It tells you what to do, so that then when you figure out what to do based on how the business really works, your tactics become much more specific and focused versus just like tonight's topic, leads, just running out there and getting leads for the sake of leads. And you don't even know why. And it doesn't really help you set up the good business model. So Michael Gerber's book has the biggest influence on this course. Okay. Coming back to the next couple of subjects here. Why are you doing this? The financial goal setting. Well, another great book that influenced me was Brian Tracy's Goals. Very simple, very rudimentary. And if you read enough Brian Tracy, the themes really just repeat themselves. Again, a lot of these folks are, boy, he's very old. I don't know how old he is these days, and I think he's still kicking. But Brian's stuff is very basic. But the simple thing that I extracted from Brian's work, I'll never forget, when he refers to a study done by, I think it gets a little confusing who actually did the study. It's one of those things like, the game of telephone, the story changes from its origination. But suffice to say, he references a study where they polled the graduating class of Harvard Business School. And they said, how many of you have written goals and plans to achieve them? And it was a very small fraction of the room that really had both. And they went back in 10 years and polled them again. And the people that had written goals and plans to achieve them were something a dramatic 10 times more successful, relatively speaking, I think quantitatively, or however they were seen as successful. But the point was simple. Write down your goals and have a plan to achieve them, right? So that's very, very much part of setting the goal. So it might seem like a simple, course that we go over and we start to set that goal on this GCI goal tracker, but it very much came from that immutable fact that you're more successful when you have a goal, especially when it's written. The next thing is probably something that really changed my life the most, not just in the context of business, but in the way I just live my life, in the way that I teach my kids, in the way that I coach. And that was our third week when we talked about mindset and bulletproofing what's called the self-image. Well, that book is really probably the singularly most important thing that I would tell you to read. Okay. And that is Psycho-Cybernetics. This seems to be, I don't know why this says the essential Psycho-Cybernetics. That's a little bit of a weird version there. Let's see if I can just get you a cleaner version. Yeah, there it is. Let's look at that one there. So Maxwell Maltz's body of work is, again, great news for you. It's not rocket science. You might find this a little bit of a tough read if you do get the audiobook, right, and listen to it. I actually recommend doing both, reading this and listening to the audiobook at the same time, sequentially, whatever, because this is such a critical thing to understand so that you can apply it to this bulletproof mindset that you have to develop as a successful, profitable real estate agent. It's everything. And I'm telling you that as a coach of many, a top producer who comes to me, usually washed ashore, beaten up, so tactically driven that they're just always anxious. They're always running around. They're always sacrificing their life. And that's because they just never slow down. And they're always letting the alligators chase them around. It's because they don't have mind steering systems. That's loosely translated what psycho-cybernetics means. And it's actually, it builds a toolbox that you can apply to all things. So that third week is very heavily influenced by that. And then there's some other stuff that over time, content marketing, I would tell you I was highly influenced by the information marketing king, Dan Kennedy, who was my coach, Greg Proctor's marketing guru and coach. And I learned a lot about information products. And that's why in that week 4, I actually physically go into showing and breaking down these information products that I made. But that came from Dan Kennedy's body of work. You could read his book too, I suppose, Magnetic Marketing. I would just warn you, he's always on the sell, so be careful you don't get caught up in some sales funnel. But magnetic marketing, or the concept of drawing people into you. In fact, I will do it justice. Let me just see. But I'm going to tell you, it's one big copywritten book too, that you can glean some ideas from this. But I would tell you that, like I said, just be careful not to get sucked into buying stuff that you just don't need, okay? Because he's very good at selling. So let me just show you this tab instead. So this book here, Magnetic Marketing by Dan Kennedy. Again, I don't know that it will glean for you the backing of what I just said about information products, but I can tell you he's one of the best information product marketers that the internet and the world has ever seen. This is a guy who used, by the way, that's how I found out about psycho-cybernetics, if you want to know the connection. Psycho-cybernetics was, the body of work was purchased by Dan Kennedy, who had a stutter, and he used psycho-cybernetic techniques to overcome the stutter and became a very famous, successful platform speaker, where back in the day, they used to fill, say, a hockey rink stadium, and they would pitch from the stadium and sell information products. And his thing was magnetic marketing. It was a bunch of tapes, and that's how he hooked you into his world. Very effective, right? So he used psycho-cybernetics to become this really great marketer, and he wrote about the marketing stuff, right? So that heavily influences that whole content marketing concept. Unique selling propositions too. I would tell you that, I would say the next 3 weeks, 4, 5, and 6, were all very heavily influenced by Dan Kennedy's marketing teachings, especially the avatar and the message to market match. But in there, kind of tucked in there, this unique selling proposition, which is also a marketing thing. All of that stuff in there is also influenced by many other books. But I would tell you, probably Dan Kennedy is where I got a lot of my understanding of marketing and copywriting. So all you Griffin and TRCers, when you see all of those, the master cover letter list, I learned all those copywriting techniques, not just from Dan, but also Joe Sugarman, and I'm trying to think of who else. There's a bunch of copywriting experts that were in Dan's world. So when you see enclosed at the top of a letter, like a title, and you see me highlight, bold, and underline certain things, that's called a dual path of readership. So just really street level, good, solid ideas. But they're also really rooted, and I'm not quite there in this book yet because I'll get to that in scripts, but they're all rooted in laws of psychology, okay? They're all rooted in laws of psychology. And the book that really influences a lot of our systems tactically, meaning how you say what you say and why we pick certain words, we're very heavily influenced by this book by Robert Cialdini. This is a really powerful and very simple conceptual book to understand. Cialdini was was, or maybe still is, he's an older guy now, but a psychology teacher. I want to tell you at Arizona State at one point in time, but he wrote this book all really to make people aware of the nefarious salesperson. Don't get taken by people that know laws of psychology, because they're playing with your mindset and they know how to trigger you. So there's another side to that coin, that you can use these techniques in a benevolent way. So when you think about our law of reciprocity and triggering the gift giving, it's all a psychological trick per se, if I put it in quotes. But if I'm trying to get through all the noise in expired's head to get them the real stuff they need, because they've already been tricked by their perception of the size of a company, or it's just its pretty logos, or whatever it might be, or its location, all that's nonsense, but they've already been tricked. So you have to re-trick them into saying, hey, you should take a look at this information. It's kind of inside information that only us realtors know. And that's how this thing got developed. You got to kind of understand, you have to really understand what how a person thinks if you're going to be effective. And it's all for benevolence, because ultimately you're trying to give away information, give away insight, execute on that plan to get them what they really want, which is to sell their property or buy one at a good price, right? So influence, heavy influence throughout the course, throughout the way we do business, but you'll see it especially when I get to the scripting. Next on the list is tonight. And this is more of a basic, just a learning. I mean, I guess you could go read some books on lead generation if you were going into the marketing and you were going into the ads, but you're going to see tonight that if you really think through this with me, you can buy a service to find these leads I'm going to talk about. In other words, you can have somebody else dig up the information for you, but you have to go get creative. Hey guys, can you mute your mic, please? They're open. Okay. You don't have to really go out there and really go buy internet-based leads and spending a gajillion dollars, or let the Zillows of the world control you, right? And have you think that that's the only way you're going to find, people. You don't even need the internet. Do you hear what I just said? You don't even need the internet to find these leads tonight. You don't need it. You don't need it. I mean, other than maybe accessing your MLS in a couple cases, or because it's convenient to see it. But I can make an argument you don't even need it, or you need a very light free usage of it. That should be the best news you hear, okay? So that's how we arrive at tonight's conversation about leads. So let me share this tab instead now, and I'm going to go into the slideshow. So go into lecture mode for a little bit here. This is a very easy topic. So I'm happy to answer lots of questions at the end of this one tonight. And I will tell you that my refocusing on these types of leads hiding in plain sight has literally changed my business life. It's changed also my coaching life, because I can tell people the fastest path and the straightest path to being successful monetarily and profitably, hence the name of the course tonight, is a straight line to the best business. So here's where that is. Okay, so, and if anybody can't see the screen, you have to holler. But please be aware, I left your mics open so that you could freely come in and out. So just keep an eye on where you are. All right. So when it comes to, oops, you know what I did? Hang on, dummy. Bear with me. I grabbed the non-PowerPoint. So bear with me. I have to go find my actual PowerPoint. Okay, let's start this one instead. Stay with me. I gave myself a good brain fart there. All right, almost there. Just tell me that you can see the slideshow now. Yeah? Good. I'll assume that's a yes. Okay, so are leads hiding in plain sight? Answer is yes. All right, there's no doubt about that. So let's go through this. So developing an answer to the question, are leads hiding in the plain sight, is really essential. But I'm going to go back to the psychology stuff for a second, okay? I want to tell you that when I teach you each one of these subjects, I'm going to make you aware of one more book here, okay? So I wanted to wait until I started this. I'm going to show you this book here. And I'm going to tell you that this book is so tricky important because there's one concept in them. I'm going to tell you how I really found out about this at one point in time. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast when he went off on Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art. Stephen Pressfield's an excellent writer, very practical. I love his audiobooks. I love the way he speaks. Very straightforward, right? But The War of Art personifies the resistance, which is what you're going to fight every single day in business, okay? You're going to fight the resistance. Now, I've made a case that the resistance is downright nefarious to the point is, in a religious context, it's devilish. It wants you to fail, okay? So there's this incredible resistance that you wake up against every day. In a lesser context, for violence in nefarious level, I would tell you it's the animal brain that is the resistance. Your animal brain was designed to survive, and it's really good at it. Meaning it can set the temperature in your life financially at just barely, right? Maybe there's some up times, maybe there's, oh boy, I'm in big trouble times, but it's just barely, and it's really good at it. And it's going to work its tail off to regulate you to just enough. It works really, really hard to do that. And that wouldn't be bad if we were animals, because it would work, survive. But the problem is we're humans with a higher level of thinking to thrive. We know somewhere in our subconscious that we are far more powerful than just enough. We just know it. So you'll go through your life mostly just enough. That's what you'll do. But you'll come try to listen to me for some hope, and I will give you real clear answers as to why you can thrive. And that is because you have to be aware and conscious and intentional when you're dealing with these things. So tonight, even, the animal brain's going to interfere with you. And I'm going to talk about leads that are going to instantly trigger you to say, oh, I wouldn't do that. I'm not the type of agent. I couldn't. That's the resistance. That's the just enough. Okay? I'm just warning you. That's what it is. So the war of art, per se, is that creative, that thriving thing inside you that wants to create this bigger thing is under attack by the resistance. Just remember how powerful it is when I say that, okay? It's like frightening is what I would say to you. Okay, back to this. So we have to get through this. And so let's talk about it. So when it comes to finding leads, where should you start looking? Well, I'm going to just go back to the business model for a second in week 1, where I showed you the Michael Gerber-esque model. But I'm also going to tell you in Gerber's books, or book in this case, I don't know when I heard it in the audiobook one time, but he struck the question, how does the business really work? So before we start talking about finding leads, you go back to week 1 and you go, okay, what did we talk about in week 1? How the business really works. And its most simple answer, if we played really dumb and we were just trying to give a very simplistic answer, we would say, well, there's a multiple listing service. That's the marketplace, just like the stock exchange. What do you mean? Well, that's where there are listings listed so that you can see they're available, right? Just like when you list your public stock on one of the exchanges, it becomes readily available. Now, these days, it's all digitized, so you can see that. So the way that the business works is that there's an accumulation of listings that are then entered into the marketplace. Okay, so if you want to be a profitable real estate agent, and that's the way the business works, isn't the logical animalistic brain answer, well, then I need listings to survive? Yes. But see, we started with the strategic vision of how the business works first. We didn't just go, let's get leads, let's get leads. Do you see the difference? Let that linger. Do you see in a vision the difference between just getting into a business and saying, where are the leads, and not having any idea what kind of leads they are and whether or not they are seller leads? Because we just said, here's the way the business works. To be successful, you probably want to get listings yourself and put them into the marketplace so you can control your outcome. We do not list buyers in the MLS. We list listings/sellers in the MLS. So that's the way it starts. So you should start looking for, ta-da, seller leads, right? So listing leads are primary and buyer leads are a secondary source of potential customers, which is why we also, and by the way, I was watching the movie again the other night, The Founder, all about Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brothers and how that happened. Why is that important to this course? Because that's Michael Gerber's basis for his concept that you should be trying to create a business that's franchisable like the McDonald's brothers did, right? That's it. And tonight I have some empathy for the McDonald's brothers because I'm fanatical about the details, but yet when I see people sort of franchising what I do, they don't really, and you got to come in there and straighten them out like Ray Kroc, straighten out everybody that was buying the franchises. So the listing leads are the burgers and the buyer leads are the fries. That's the way you think about it, okay? You can't live without the beef. Next. So here we go. Okay, where are they? Well, the best leads are hiding in plain sight, and they include expireds, probates, FSBOs, and referral listings. I'll go to referral listings. I probably should take it out of here at some point in time because referrals get very confusing. Referrals from a past client are very particular to me in this course because I have a very clear past client module that I talk about. And that's the back end of your business. If you ever hear me talking to the top producers that I coach, I say back end, front end, meaning they need to do their tactical plan very precisely on the back end with past clients. And on the front end, that's even harder because that's new business development. So in this case, I'm at the front end of new business development. These are people presumably you do not know at all, and you have to learn how to get business from them. So those referral listings, they could be really more professional listing referral sources like attorneys, etc. That's what I would say. But the primaries are expireds, probates, and FSBOs, not necessarily in that order. I'd let you choose. But those are all primary listing leads hiding in plain sight. What do I mean by hiding in plain sight? Well, first of all, presumably every one of you on here tonight listening already has your license, already is a member of the MLS, the multiple listing service, the marketplace I just talked about. You're a paying member. You're paying for access to information. Well, it might not strike you that that's a wonderful source of leads and you're already paying for them, which is why I made the case that these are free, right? Or super low cost. I mean, again, you don't necessarily join MLS for just leads. You join it for a lot of reasons, right? To get access to all the data. But the one thing you're not even thinking about is that why would you go out and pay for any lead before you would go in and pull a list of expireds and then pursue those? It's a very logical place. The marketplace itself has recycled listings that you can be in the recycling business and do extremely well. Take it from a guy who does. I do extremely well with recycled listings, right? I'm using language that you'll get into your thriving brain that goes, duh, he's right. That is easy. That's where they are. So all you have to do is go in, and as I was helping Natalie today a little bit with her business, and I was being very specific. I was like, okay, you need meaningful specifics. Don't be telling me you're down in Randolph and then you're down in the Cape and then you'll narrow your niche. Pick some stuff in Newton, Brookline. And we went over her North Star, which I just talked about, the goals. Brian Tracy set that North Star and have a plan to achieve it. So we worked on that. But we made it a very crooked number so she could see where she was going. So her listings her attempt starts with expireds because she's already paying for it. So you can go in there. And what I tell them to do is pick one. Now, for me, I'm more advanced. So I'm going to go out and actually pay for a service called Vulcan 7 to bring me a lot of the data, but we still cleanse it based on where we want to be, what price we want to be. So you don't need that. You can just do one at a time. Now you think, oh my gosh, that's not enough. Oh yes, it is. It's enough. If you were to pick one of these three, probates are a little bit trickier. Gail Rossetti, one of my coaching clients out in Atherton, California, think Google, Palo Alto, etc. She's very good at them. So there are probate leads too that are hiding in plain sight. When, administrators of estates, you could go into the newspaper online and you could find them there too. So you could find the administrator to an estate when they get announced. I don't really know the logistics of that. Why? because that's another company I pay to go do all that work for me, call All the Leads. So between Vulcan and All the Leads, I am at another level where I wanted to pay for the service of convenience and pay somebody externally in the Philippines to call those two lists down and upload them for my telemarketers so that they can just be on the phone calling away and they have the best data that they can. You don't need any of that. You don't need any of that, especially if you're a single agent, because you can go in and you can look in MLS for expireds. You could go Google for sale by owners websites in your area, look for them there, free and front facing, obviously, because FSBOs want to be seen. And then probates, like I said, you could go and find out where administrators of estates are announced, look up the address, see if there's a real property. You can go to Zillow now and do that. So all either free or uber low cost to get. Okay. And there they are, hiding in plain sight. But what did I say? I warned tonight. I went through all the books tonight and I said, Stephen Pressfield's going to show up here and he's going to say, here's the war against the art of your creative to imagine yourself using psychocybernetic techniques, being an effective door knocker, telemarketer, to get in front of these people, to make a unique selling proposition offer, using a script that has all the laws of influence built into it. You see how easy it gets when you start to hear me? This is a fine-tuned orchestration of immutable facts of life. But why you hear me and you get it, and then you can't go execute it, is this cavernous resistance. It's cavernous. So whatever crops up in there, the resistance plays with your mind, right? It comes and says, oh, you would never door knock. Yeah, in Long Island, door knock, you might get shot, right? So, and that's the game that the brain starts to play with you, which is why I say, hey, break out that toolbox called Psychocybernetics. Before you go to bed tonight, imagine yourself putting together this package of information. Imagine yourself being a benevolent influencer using the laws of psychology to get through. Imagine. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between you imagining yourself going up to that door and being successful, getting on that phone and being successful. It doesn't know the difference. So you get to use those psychocybernetic techniques to overcome the resistance by using it as a practice, a way of life. This week, I had a couple of problems crop up. And instead, I saw this cool thing about the Mossad that when they train their agents, they train them not to be emotional, that when something goes wrong, they're supposed to just say 2 words, data received. That's it. Data received. So that they can take the data in and they can begin to build a solution in real time. And that's what I'm telling you, you must do. Because there is no reason. I make a deal with the animal brain, by the way, if you haven't noticed already in this course. I simplify everything so small. By the way, that's an Einstein philosophy. Make everything simpler, but not too simple. So what's that mean? If you saw the 7 steps of the seller plan and I took out one critical one like marketing, it's too simple. But if you look at it with 7 steps and it's logical and cohesive, it's really simplified. And it's simplified down or chunked up dumb so that the brain doesn't have to think. So when you're talking to a PhD at night who just tried to discover the next, amazing drug cure for cancer, and their brain is fried, and you're trying to talk about, selling their property, which makes them emotional, you dumb it up. It's 7 steps. It's influence. So you can do that to yourself first, and that's what this course is about. Having you be sold on being able to create a self-image for you being able to talk to these leads that are hiding in plain sight, because they are extremely financially valuable to you. And they are extremely financially necessary for you to hit your goals. When Natalie and I were doing her goals today, and we did her gross commission income, I think she was probably surprised herself to look at the number she put up on the board to gross for her business only required her to do 3 average deals or mean price deals and 4 median or middle of the road. That's it. 1 a quarter. So you got to be like, huh? That's it? To gross well over $100,000? Huh? Yes, that's it. But then immediately we go into this weird tactical mode, or we get sucked in by the malevolent marketers that attack real estate agents every day. Oh, come on over, buy this platform. It's only $2,000 a month. Oh, but you got your ad spend too. It's not. Next thing you know, you spend $36,000 on a lead generation platform that gives you all sorts of names that are mostly whimsical inquiries late at night on a phone. And hardly any of them have a heartbeat. And you can't convert any of them because you're not using any tactics. And most of them are buyer leads, if there are even leads. See what I mean? So somewhere between learning the strategies that make sense and then executing the plan, our brain falls out our ear. Our logic falls out our ear, right? And we just start reacting and doing things that are absolutely counterproductive to being a profitable agent one deal at a time. But yet, if I show your brain how few deals it takes, if you all listening to me tonight and you're a Griffin or a TRCer and you don't have a gross commission goal a spreadsheet set up, the top part of it is the beginning that we talk about setting that goal with Brian Tracy stuff. And then the tactical plans that we have for you are impeccable. And we work on them every week to make them better. So you have the goal and you have the plan. Why can't we execute? Psycho-cybernetics and the resistance. Understand the resistance first and then get psycho-cybernetics in your life to cure the resistance. That's the gap to talking to these people. So what are some good buyer leads? Let's go to the fries because we don't want to be without them. And I'm going to tell you very specifically how this works for me, right? Open house, open house, open house. Now, I did put internet and I did put the referral leads because I'm not going to say that they don't work or they don't exist. I'm just going to tell you, none of you should ever be doing anything on the internet for leads until you have begun to go after and you have a rhythm doing so, and you're having some success creating prospects, not clients, prospects out of expireds, probates, and or FSBOs. Don't touch the internet. You're a sucker if you are. I'm telling you, you're a sucker. I'm 26 years deep on this gig, and I'm also 23 years deep coaching it, and I still do it every day. And I'm here to protect you against your animal brain. By the way, I'm talking your animal brain. I'm talking to the resistance, especially when I say you're a sucker if you fall for the internet leads. You just are. Unless you're like Luke, Phil, Matthew, and some of the mortgage brokers, and Chrissy, we're really working on what was already existing in a business that I'm combining with mine. And we're already working on that, but it's not a priority. And Luke will be the first one to tell you that we brought in some mortgage guys and gave them a script the other day, turning them loose this week so that he can go back to these leads hiding in plain sight. He'll tell you that himself. Okay. Now, when you get them, when you get the burgers, the best part of it is finding the fries inside of the burger, which means what? An open house. I went and did 4 more open houses. Now think what week it is. It was Thanksgiving, right? It was Thanksgiving on a Thursday. On a Friday, I had, let's say on that Tuesday, I'd already set up my open houses for the weekend. So it's a holiday. Then it's Black Friday. I was in an open house Saturday morning, and then I was in another one a half hour later. So I did 3 hours with open houses. Okay. In the first one, nobody came for the first hour. 3 couples came in the latter half. Relatively productive, nobody jumping up and down, but I think I might have picked up a good buyer client that we're working right now. Great people. Okay. Good connection. Sent them away with a buyer package. Telemarketers following up, trying to keep them going. They're they love the place, but the timing's a little bit weird because it's a little early for them, but they're not working with anybody. So there's a success, right? That's a prospect off of an open house. So a lead becomes a prospect at an open house. The next one, down the street, I, on Thanksgiving morning, got a text from somebody. I responded. I didn't say, oh, Thanksgiving, right? I responded and said, no, I'm sorry, I can't get you in there tomorrow, but I can meet you at the open house. I'm doing it myself. She bought it, or at least put it under agreement. I'm going up there tomorrow for the home inspection, which is supposed to be information purposes only. Okay. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm under agreement with a double-ended deal, $1,050,000, 4%. You can do the math. It's a nice number. It's $42,000, right? Hiding in plain sight inside my listing. Now, again, that was, and by the way, that was a professional referral, a pastor sent me those people. Originally, I sold a place from on Cape Cod. This was their place in Boston. So that was a professional referral. Okay. The other one down the street where I picked up the other person isn't expired. And we're very close to wrapping that one up. We sold off his parking space and, to a neighbor upstairs today, and we'll sell that. So I have a mix of business, right? There it is. All of those people were hiding in plain sight. Now, the only thing they had to do with the internet was the lady was looking at her phone because she was trying to buy another property, which fell apart, and she came back to this one, right? So there you go. All hiding in plain sight, very low cost, my time. And by the way, I will make a case for this. I was teaching Natalie the other day, go in a straight line to where your certain listings are. You can't get in a straighter line to an expired, a FSBO, or a probate. Probates are a little bit trickier because there's not always a property to sell, and they don't always want to sell it. But expireds tried and failed, and FSBOs are trying. There's no straighter line to somebody inside the geography you want to be at, and you know the price of both. So you know that they're median or above. No brainers, right? So how do you find these best listing leads? Well, I already told you. Multiple listing service, you pay for it. Look in there, pick one a week. By the way, I will show the tactical plan that speaks to this too, okay? I'll show it to you. It's all mapped out. And FSBO sites and referrals from past clients, yes, but more professionals. Because the past client referrals, that past client plan, which I'll go to in the last week here of this course on week 12, is very specific. Buyer leads, I just said it, open houses, internet leads through online marketing by asking for the same thing, right? But lead with the two that I said, multiple listing service, FSBO sites, lead with those two, and open houses. That should be your I do probates and expireds. You can do FSBOs and expireds. You can combine them. So I would just say pick 1, 2, or 3 of those. I'd start with expireds though. Expireds are in your MLS. They've already tried. They've already worked with the realtor. You just have to figure out whether they're still interested in selling or their plans have really changed. Or they're still committed to their agent. If it's not one of those two things and you give them an information product and turn them into a prospect you can follow up with, you are in good shape, okay? So the pro tips, obviously, set up an open house system to secure both seller and buyer prospects. I just said that to you, okay? So when you think about the internet, why would I ever want the internet when I have a listing I could go to and I can have live lead generation? Let that sink in. Live lead generation, that as I sit there in that house, thank you so much for coming. The sellers asked that everybody sign in. And our sign-in sheets have very specific requests for information. And we even put it in a dummy on the first one, all filled out so that you can see all the information filled out. First name and last name, email address, telephone number, how'd you find us, are your realtor's name, right, etc. So it's all there and we fill it all out. And hopefully people really start to fill out all that information. And you'd be shocked how many do. And you'd be shocked at how many people do not have a realtor. You'd be shocked because a lot of them are running around because Zillow's got its little formula where they give away all this information, their app. So does Redfin, so does Realtor.com. Well, people aren't obligated to opt into those. They can just see where the open house is and they can just show up. So I have Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, and everybody else working for me every weekend as far as I'm concerned. You send me the traffic. People say, you put your sign 16 places down there. Nope. I put one sign out in front of the house. And what do you do to market it? I put it online in MLS that it's going to be open, which syndicates instantly to all those apps and everything else so people know. And I do it early in the week so it bakes all week long so people can make plans to show. And then I wait like a Venus flytrap, waiting for them. Thank you so much. Sellers asked that everybody sign in. When you're done doing that, feel free to take a brochure. There's an MLS sheet on the inside. Then I shut up. I know, hard for you to believe. I actually shut up. I bite my tongue and I walk away. It's weird. It's awkward for everybody. And then I come back when they do it. Thank you so much for doing that, right? Don't forget the MLS sheet there. You folks looking for yourselves, and off I go. And when I glance by the sheet, I can see they put a realtor down or they didn't. So I'm going to take obviously a lot more liberty with somebody that doesn't have one, especially the ones that engage like these people did this past weekend. And as I start to say, I said, listen, why don't you take this package of information? So I have these unique selling proposition packages all ready to go. And because I'm face to face, these are more like presentation packages where they're the nice stuff. You probably can't see this too well. When I stop the screen, you will. In here, I tell them I have pictures and details of properties that actually sold in this price range. It's important for you to see what the money's buying so you don't look at stuff that's overpriced. There's also some for sales, but I also put a market update in here, show you the exact direction of current market pricing. And as a bonus, it's the exact plan, wink, 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 that I customize for my buyers. Here, take this. Huh? Really? Oh, that's so nice of you. Boom, boom, boom. It's just all benevolent manipulation to their benefit because they don't have to do business with me, right? And then I'm going to kind of glance over the second pro tip because this has more to do with the past client plan, and I'm going to leave it there. Okay. So it's more so set up that open house system to get people live lead gen funnels. Whew. It's a lot of talking, isn't it? Okay. Let me stop those and let me come back over here and see what we have for questions tonight. Jackie, oh, go ahead. I did, but I was flying around when you sent it, and I forget now what it said. Oh, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking we should do it when in the afternoon Sunday. Is that possible? Yeah. Well, I'll be coming back though from way down Cape. My stuff is way down Cape, so I'll be in Wellfleet. So Wellfleet on Sunday. Oh wait, the tides might be no good. She's only got me booked for Priest Road, 12, and you're doing yours till 1. Okay, I could be pretty close to that, just maybe a little bit after. Just ask her, make sure I'm not doing Wellfleet. Okay, might get yeah, because that's the island where the tide floods the road, so I probably won't be able to do it if she doesn't have it down. Yeah, what's that? Hello, the princess. Yeah, keep going. She want to sell. Does she have a lease in place for the person that's living there? Oh, you need to know that. That's yeah, you need to know that. That's everything. Because how long is the lease? Because if somebody wants to buy it and doesn't want that person, can she buy the person out of the lease? Can she get them out? That's the answer to your question, I think that you were asking me. Yeah. 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 Sure. Yeah, sure. Find out about it. Find out about the term of the lease. Yeah, you have yeah, no, you have to find out what kind of access you can get, when you can get that access. Yeah. So you have to talk to her about that. Did she have it listed already? In a okay. So why did it cancel? Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, she had a challenge selling it probably with the tenants in place. So find out about a lease. That's important. Then, give me that info, please. Good. Awesome. Welcome. All right. What other questions do we have tonight? Andre, Phil, Jackie. Who else is out there? Rowan? Yep. Ben? What do you got for me? Anything? Especially my left coasters. Good to see the effort. Thank you for coming. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, get back in the other calls too. No, and go Yeah, yeah. It's simple though, right? It's simple, but it yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Well, it because that's when you and that's where that psycho cybernetics book comes to play too, Rowan, because it's during the night where the subconscious is being programmed, right? So setting those goals in writing, there's something magical about, and I forget what it is. I actually heard somebody explain the body mechanics, the biology behind taking something from the mind through the arm and through a pen onto paper. There's something magical about what that does to commit it to the subconscious, right? So good, good. You're gonna be a wealthy man. Keep writing. That's good. Yeah, good. Yeah, good, good. Yeah, well, keep me up to date on how it goes. Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, see, what I was trying to help you with there was, because I agree with Paul. That's a very tactical thing that MLSs are getting too complicated in what they allow you to do, right? Some of the softwares are just okay. So, and I'm very familiar with Northwest MLS. So, what I would tell you is what I told you last week. Try to simplify why you even bother to go in there, right? Because it's like any software. Software is built for this incredible capacity by software geeks, but the actual users, us, we don't really need it for that much, right? So, for example, what do I mean? When you first get into MLS, what you really need to do in the context of this course is be able to look up some properties. So if you were going to put together one of these packages, Rowan, because you wanted to go door knock a for sale by owner, you just simply need to go into the MLS and learn how to say, okay, I would like to find 5 properties in this area around this address, right? So all you have to use MLS for is understanding that search. How do I do that search? And that's how I would slowly but steadily become an MLS software expert by just using only the pieces of it that you absolutely need to help you make money, right? Because, and then along the way, it was like Wendy, who's new out here at Griffin, um, she got her first listing. And it was very confusing to her because it's the first time she did it. So she felt bad because she was asking a lot of questions, right? So the best thing to do is don't be afraid to make a mistake by using it because you're not doing anything to violate, somebody's rights. You know what I mean? I mean, that's one of those universal principles. Anything's game as long as you're not trying to hurt somebody's human rights or hurt them, right? So don't get your brain so stuck that you're trying to become some MLS expert. You don't need to be. In fact, at this point in my career, I'm not even sure how to log in, right? Because I removed myself from it. That's how minimally I made myself. Because Laura, my client care manager, all she needs it for is to go in there and enter the listing, right? And its details. All Annabelle needs it for when she's working with me versus her own book of business is to go in there and pull these pictures and details of properties around expireds or around listings. That's it, right? So we minimize what we actually use it for. And then lastly, and we do this for you guys out there because I think Daniel does it out there for you guys, but we go into MLS and we pull all the data and we make it into those nice single sheets for you so you know how the market is. So you really just need to get good at search and entering a listing when that day comes. That's it. So if there are Northwest MLS videos on how to do those two things, that's what I would do if I were you. I would watch those two things, how to do a search and then how to input a listing. That's where I would start. Well, no, no, don't get up in your head about a CMA. I'm gonna help you with that. Now I understand. I don't even like CMAs. I don't like what that means, okay? Because it means comparable market analysis. Well, Rowan, under my watch, I'm going to tell you there is no analysis that you're going to do in the MLS. The analysis comes from our interpretation. Now, we at Griffin, and you have access to it, have a video that's about 17 minutes long that shows you how to analyze 5 properties or so against the subject property. But a CMA, look, but look, a CMA, I'm going to show you what you think it is, and I'm going to tell you what it actually is, okay? If I go to the seller package, okay, let me just find it. If I go to the seller package of information, okay, this is what we are giving people here, right? Can you guys see my screen? You seeing me? Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. Oh, okay. So here, if I pull this out, I'm going to show you the piece that you have to learn how to do. It's this piece. Now, yours isn't going to look exactly like this, but all this is, it's got nothing to do with analysis. It's a search where we went in and we looked, there's the map, we looked at a subject address, okay? So we put a subject address in there, and then we, by some criteria that we typed in, whatever criteria we typed in, let me see if I can tell you what criteria we typed in for this one. This was a property that we were going out to see. And so I think we just did I guess we had some price parameters that we put in here where we put solds from like $1 million to $1,375,000. Okay. So we went out as far as we could. We said, search for everything around that address from $1 million to $1 million, you know, 5. We probably did $1 million to $1.5 million. And then we just took and printed the MLS sheets for each one of them, right? That's all we did. So this is nothing more than a printed out search. There's no analysis. There's none. And so let's just say you went and said, here, watch this. Watch what I do here. Give me a random address in Seattle, okay? Give me just a random address that means something to you, right? What's it? What is it? Beautiful. Hang on one second. I got to share this. What do I want to do? Entire screen. Let me just go here. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Ready? Let's play a game. Ready? 1. What is it? 6. Yep. Here it is. It came up, right? There it is. Okay. So now you get a random address. I got your address just like that. Okay. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, what do these guys think it's worth? Well, they think it's worth 567, 500. Okay. So there's where I start. I have an address. Let's pretend this was a FSBO. I have a target address and I have a Zestimate. I might do a little extra homework and say, okay, 567 on that one. What's Redfin say it is? Redfin says 606. Okay. So we got like a $600,000 house plus or minus, right? I mean, that's what we got according to both of those guys. Okay. Just making sure that's the same house. Yep. Good. So we know what it is. Now, if you went into MLS, all you're going to do is go the same thing. See, Google works very similar to MLS. You're going to have this address and you're going to say, search a radius, everything in here that's sold, okay, because these are solds, everything that's sold from, say, 525, and I won't go too much over the 6, but I'll go 625, okay? Show me everything 525, 625. And MLS is going to go search those things. And I'm going to put a time limit on it. Everything that's sold from in those prices in the last 6 months only, okay? As long as I get plus or minus 5, if I get 15, too many, I'm going to move the time frame in tighter, okay? Because the more recent solds, the better. So if I go 6 months and it gives me 15, too many data points. I want to bring it down to 5 plus or minus 1. 6 or 4 is probably too little. I'd say 5 to 7. That's all I want. I don't want more than that. And that's all you need to learn to do with MLS in the beginning is master your ability to look at an address and find what's sold around it. Because what your analysis is were those 5 properties better than yours? And you should do this, Rowan, on your own property. It was smart for you to give me this. You should go into MLS, put in your own address, look what's sold around it. Now, if you really want to play the game psychologically, then you should make a full package and mail it to yourself. You right? Mail it to yourself. So you put it in the mail, you put one of the cover letter, and pretend you're a for sale by owner. Okay. So we have the master list of everything on the Griffin site. You can go get the FSBO cover letter, for sale by owner cover letter, put that on top. You can get Paul's version of the Seattle market update, put that next. You print out the 5 solds around your price, right? And make them as pretty as you can. And don't forget, if you can get the printout of a map so you see where they are, right? And then lastly, put in, this is a 7-step plan for the sellers. Put in a 7-step plan. Now you have all of this and you used MLS for what you really need it for. You follow me? That's how you learn how to incorporate the tactical skill of MLS. Then stuff it, handwrite it, and mail it, right? Who else lives in the house with you? Who else lives in the house with you? Okay, don't tell your wife and put this together and mail it to her. Let her react to it. Put her name on it and let her react to it so you see a real reaction from somebody, right? Right? So that's how you get yourself to start to act as if you're already doing it. So once you use, then you can see MLS is not the big burden that you think it is. Yeah. Um, you have access to the Griffin Teachable. Ben, did you give him the Griffin Teachable site? Okay, great. By the way, thank you so much for doing that. I would tell you that the things in there that you guys all need are the master cover letter list. Okay, it's not a video; it's a cover letter list. You're just going to go in there and you're going to look at that. Okay, you need to print out a copy of the FSBO because you're going to pretend you're a FSBO. Okay. Ben, what do you guys have for a buyer plan out there? Can he print that off of something that Paul has? Do you guys have another file where you have the seller plan, the 7 steps? Do you have that somewhere? Okay. All right. Okay. Super. Super. So if you could just find the stuff on it's, there's no video, Ben. Why don't you just go try to find the assets on there first, print them, and then come back, see me if you can. I can't remember if you work during the day, but you can Rowan, you know what to do? You can put in the WhatsApp, put a message that you've gotten it there. Okay. And I can always give you a quick call and just review it. No, no. He sent it. You should be logged in already. Do you have a login? Did we log you into the Griffin site? Okay. Yeah. You need to go on the Teachable site and you need to get lost in there a little bit. Get lost in the Teachable site. Yes. The Griffin training site is where you need to go find these things. Okay. Hold on. Write this down. Okay. And Ben can help you find it if you get stuck. Thank you, Ben. I just volunteered you. I hate to do that to you. If you will just write down the seller and buyer plan, okay, seller and buyer plan. You need to find those 2 things, okay. then I think if you want to watch, I think there's a video of us doing a cloud CMA. Okay. A cloud CMA, which is nothing more than pulling properties. It's probably going to be a little bit different the way that you do it in your MLS, but that's the equivalent of what we do. So you can see how I pull those. And then you need to write down master cover letter list. I know that's in there because somebody just showed it to me today. Master cover letter list. Yes, that's a higher level of that's a 17-minute video that is the highest level I can get you guys to. That's analysis. That's analysis. That's how you kick ass. That plus Ben, while you're talking about that, that plus a net sheet, right? It's infallible. You will just not. Nobody will compete with you when you know how to do those two things. Yeah. You mean the analysis does, but the net sheet after all expense. Yeah, yeah, correct. Go ahead. Stay with the analysis. No, don't do that because I hear you, but that's not how they think, right? You don't want to call bargain because what happens if bargain's the right number? Yeah, well, you're trying to tell them you're giving your property away. You're dead. See why language Um, low is where the math leads to now, but you might be in the lower end of the range if if macroeconomically, things have shifted and prices have dropped, the math could be at this lower end of the range, right? Yeah. Yeah. And plus, correct. And what brings us also, but Ben, what also brings us into the range is condition, location, and we don't know that till we arrive. That's why I say don't ever give away an analysis without an invite into the house so that you can see it and discuss it and on the fly make adjustments. Say, listen, I didn't know how pristine this place was. You guys have done everything. So let's take a look at the math. But remember too, I also don't go in the house without having asked them the seller qualifying questionnaire questions, which if you get nothing else answered, what do you think the property's worth? Well, I don't know. That's what I'm having. No, no, no. Yeah, no, no, no. I know you having me over and other people. What do you think it's worth? Well, I don't know. What do you hope it's worth? Give me a number. And if they still flunk out, you do what I just did. You go to Redfin, Zillow, and get kind of a guesstimate, and that's how you pull your math. You right? You're welcome. Good. Okay, gang, I've gone overtime here tonight. I'm going to let you go. Appreciate you all being here live, but keep rooting around this stuff. But the most important thing is beware the resistance. It's the thing that's going to stop you from doing something that's easy because you're going to tell you a story. That's no. Yeah, yeah. We'll write them down. I pay attention to that WhatsApp group too. So if you do one at a time in the WhatsApp group, so we don't overwhelm people, just write them down. But put them in the order of what has to happen because you're a very inquisitive mind. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You have too many questions. So write them all down for yourself to get them out of your head. Then circle the one. This is goals. That's a Brian Tracy technique. Get them. Look at how close Brian Tracy influenced me so much. I always have one of these right next to me and one of these right there. So that when I have all that noise in my head, I get it out and I put it down. And I say, here are the 10 questions I had for Danny that I didn't ask. But let me stare at this and let me circle the one that's most important. That's how you quiet your mind down. You do one at a time, right? See, because that's why you're stuck. This is the second week you ask me about MLS because you're overwhelmed. You know why? You see too much. Write down the things that you can because that's the way you think. You think about too many things at once and your brain is shutting down. You're not really focusing on the one thing that is really the most important. You do that and watch. We're going to make better progress faster. Okay. So as soon as you get off this call, tell your wife and kids to sit away for a second. Right. Get the questions that you think are important you out and circle one. take a picture and put it up into the WhatsApp. Okay. I want to see which one, I want to see which one you did. Okay. T- Write the questions, but circle the one that is the most important. Okay. Yeah. Watch. Just trust me. I've been doing this a long time. Trust me. Right. You'll see. Be way more effective. All right, guys, I got to run. See you later. Thank you so much for being here live. You rock. See ya. Have a good night. Bye.